Today's topic of discussion is social media. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down some key points in terms of how women will be stalking your social media, how they'll effectively filter out guys who are weak beta males to guys who are actually men of value. So first point is stalking. Now for guys that don't know, right, girls who have a high amount of attraction and high amount of interest in a guy, they'll be stalking you from afar. So you know how you've got, for example, in person, right? So let's say you've got a girl who has an attraction towards you. So she's looking at you from across the room. So when you look at her in her direction, she just quickly looks away. And then you've caught her doing that a few times. That's a good chance that she has a high amount of attraction towards you. So girls do this on social media. So let's say you're posting content related to your purpose. Girls will be stalking you from afar. So they'll be watching your stories, watching your reels, and any content that you're posting, they're going to be just stalking it. So they'll even go through your followers section, the people who you're following. They'll do their full due diligence. I mean, these girls are literally full-on spies. So it's as though they've got no other life. So when a girl does do this, it shows that she really cares about you. Do you understand? So don't think of it as, oh, this girl is just creeping me out. She's just always watching me all the time. And it's just like, nah, that right there, that behavior is obsessive type behavior. So when a girl has a high amount of attraction and high desire for you, she's going to be stalking you. She's going to be really obsessive. You understand? So that's what girls do nowadays on social media. All they do is they stalk their guys, so the guys that they have a crush on. So next point is friends. Now, girls, girls, they got a big mouth. So they'll be telling their friends. So they'll tell their close friends about you and see what type of reaction they get out of looking at you. So let's say she tells them, oh yeah, I like so and so. She'll send your profile to them, and then they'll be stalking you. So that's what's going to happen. So they'll be watching you, watching all your content, seeing what type of guy you are, what type of comments you leave, and so on. And then they're getting a rough idea in terms of how you stack up against other guys. So you know how these red pill jokers, they use the term called SMV, so sexual market value. So I've made another video on marriage market value. So that's more appropriate. And that takes into account spirituality. So you got your marriage market value. So marriage market value is effectively how you stack up amongst other people. So let's say with the guys, it's how you stack up against let me rephrase that. For guys, it's how you stack up against other men. And for women, your marriage market value is how you stack up against other women. So let's say a man, he's somebody who's mentally strong, physically, emotionally, spiritually. He's got, good finances. He's somebody who is working on his purpose and, all these different characteristics. He's got sense of humor, good personality, you name it. So he's going to have a high marriage market value. And then vice versa, it's going to be a woman. So a woman who's young. So let's say she's 18. She's had, let's say, no previous relationships. She's somebody who is obedient towards God, wears hijab, wears modest clothing. She's somebody who values family and children. She's somebody who's like a traditional type woman. That's going to be like a high marriage market value for that woman. And then let's say she looks attractive as well. So physically attractive as well. So obviously men, they tend to put more weighting on like physical appearance. Do you understand? So, and then obviously women, they take into account everything. So personality, confidence, development of character. Obviously looks do play a role, but there's a whole bunch of other stuff that goes into that as well. So then men tend to be more visual creatures. You understand? In general. You understand? You do have the exceptions to the rule. But anyway, I digress there. So their friends are going to be stalking you, and then she's going to see whether or not, what type of reaction they get out of you now. So if they, for example, like you as well, and they think, oh yeah, you're somebody who's, let's say, attractive, good looking, cute, or whatever terms they use, then that reaffirms to her that you're somebody with a high marriage market value. Does that make sense, guys? So it's really important. Women will be stalking you on social media. They'll get their friends to be watching you, and then they'll be telling all the details. You have to realize this is their life. They ain't got no other life. All their life is to literally just talk about other guys that they're stalking. So next point is testing. So this is what will happen. It'll get to the point, right, where the obsessive type behavior can be certain times. So let me rephrase that. Certain times, the obsessive type behavior can get so out of hand that they'll make fake accounts to message you and stalk you from. And this is what pretty much all girls do who have crazy obsession for you. Do you understand? They're just going to be watching you day in, day out, seeing what your moves are, and then they're just like cats. So as soon as you start talking to them, you give them a bit of attention, they just run away. But as soon as you just stop chasing, you stop talking to them, you just carry on working on your purpose, that's when they want to come and speak to you. Do you understand? So this is what social media unfortunately has done with a lot of relationships. It's damaged a lot of relationships. People are not actually building face-to-face relationships anymore. It's much less now. People would rather be in the comfort of their own home and just, look at somebody behind the screen. This is the sad reality of it. And that's why a lot of these people have got poor communication skills. This doesn't just apply to women. It's like men and women. They've got poor communication skills. They don't know how to speak to people. They don't know how to build relationships with people. They'd rather just be at home, just, watching you from afar. So girls will test you in certain subtle ways. So one of them can be a fake account. So with the fake account, right, I've had certain fake accounts, you can tell based off of the messages, there's certain keywords that a girl will use, that let's say you've had a conversation with one girl, there's only one girl that flipping knows certain keywords that you've used with her, and then she'll use that in her profile. In her message, direct message. So what you need to do is you just simply ignore it. Ignore it and delete the chat. You understand? You just carry on working on your purpose. What girls will do is they'll try and just get a reaction out of you. You understand? So they'll try and get a reaction out of you, try and test you to see whether or not you'll bite the bait. You understand? So you guys here, don't bite onto the bait. So certain times, right, I'll test a girl back. So I'll be like, oh yeah, you messaged me from a fake account, this and that. Do you understand? And then if they turn around and say no, guess what? Stop communicating with them again. Do you understand? But that's like back and forths that you guys don't need to do. Do you understand? So literally, whenever you see any type of fake accounts, any type of messages from them, or if they're stalking you, or if they're viewing your stories, simply just ignore them. You understand, guys? So final point is pathetic. That's what it is. Relationships nowadays on social media is so pathetic. So around 40-50% of all relationships are being built upon social media. So let's say you got teenagers, guys in their 20s, and so on. Pretty much half the relationships are being built from social media. So let's say a guy and a girl, they're both together, they would have met on, let's say, Instagram. You understand? So they met on Instagram, they started talking, and then they ended up having a relationship. You understand? So that's what it is, unfortunately. Unfortunately, social media has damaged a bunch of people's brains. Do you understand? This is really pathetic. How people would rather just be sat at home, just watching people all day long, rather than actually building a connection with somebody in real life. You know, so you guys, whoever you lot are watching this, you guys here need to build face-to-face interactions. That right there is going to be much more beneficial, and you're going to be able to gain more of an understanding of that person. Does that make sense, guys? Especially when it comes to a woman being satisfied by high shit. Losing my train of thought today. Shit. So her hypergamy is only going to be satisfied based off of you as a man. So the level of value you bring to the table. You understand? And it's much more difficult to satisfy a woman's hypergamy on social media. You understand, guys? You know, rather than in-person interaction. Because with in-person interactions, a woman will gravitate towards you based off of energy. So more energy, it's more like transparent. Do you understand? That's why certain times with a woman, she may go with a guy who doesn't really look good looking, for example. Let's say an attractive woman, she's with a guy who's not really attractive on the outside, but he's got good confidence, good personality, makes her laugh. You know, he's just a good person to be around. You know, them two end up having a relationship. So once they have a relationship, then it's just like, oh, okay, do you understand? But with social media, there's a lot more dynamics that get mixed into that. Does that make sense, guys? So just to wrap up, stalking, girls will be stalking you guys from afar on social media. So certain times they may not even be following you. Do you understand? But they'll just be getting notified. I don't know how these girls are doing it. They're just getting notifications whenever you're posting a story or you've posted a reel or a video or whatever it is. They just get notified and then they just quickly watch it. Do you understand? That's what girls do. This is their life. They ain't got no other life. Unfortunately, in today's society, it's just social media. You know, girls nowadays, if you look at their screen time, crazy amount of time on social media, and it's vice versa for the beta male guys as well. Guys who are just watching other people all day on social media. These people ain't got no life. You know, that's what it is. That's the honest truth. You know, that's why a lot of these guys' communication skills suck. They ain't got good communication skills. Well, next point after that was friends. So a girl will tell her friends about you, and they're going to be stalking you as well and figuring out what type of guy you are. So based off of your social media presence, if you're somebody, whether you're somebody who's got a private account. So if you've got a private account, they'll request it from, let's say, a fake account or whatever account it is, and then you accept it, and then they'll be watching all your highlights and then, you know, reels and then all that sort of stuff. Does that make sense, guys? And the next point after that was testing. So that's what they'll do. Certain times they'll test you. So sometimes, right, I've had girls, right, I'm speaking to, they'll get their friends to message me. Do you understand? And then I'm having a conversation with them, and then they're testing to see what my responses are with that girl. Do you understand? That gives them more information of what type of guy you are, whether your character matches with the social media and real life, or if it doesn't. Because a lot of guys are good at putting on a front. You understand? Women can pick up on that. That's why they can spot certain guys who are just like fake type guys, you know, loser type guys, and guys who are actually, you know, mean business. You understand, guys? And then final point is pathetic. That's what it is. Relationships nowadays are pretty much pathetic, being built on social media. People don't want to meet each other in real life anymore. They're just so scared, so, you know, they feel so vulnerable that they don't want to put themselves out there in real life. You know, this is the sad reality of it, and that's why relationships are breaking down nowadays. You know, people don't want to come out of their comfort zone. So in life, right, you're going to need to come out of your comfort zone to be able to build your character, to be able to build a solidified character. Because if you don't, then you're just going to be fragile your whole life. So I hope that makes sense, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.